Alo. Yeah, man.
Masi.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in, man. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah. How you been?
I've been
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Busy.
Just absorbing the storm right now, right?
Yeah. Or the calm after the
The
storm.
calm after the
Yeah.
storm. Yeah. You've been able to settle in a little bit after, first of all, congratulations on an
Thank you.
epic winner. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack there, but just haven't seen you really since that everything, right? The run of
Yeah.
everything. And just wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been probably fun, but also new for you.
It's a new feeling.
Yeah.
It's not, sitting in a lecture hall or working construction anymore.
Yeah.
It's doing stuff like this, which
Yeah.
I like, it's a learning.
No, and I think like I was just saying earlier before we hit record, it's just, I think doing epic things comes with some responsibility. And it's one of those things where it's just like, this is part of it. And I'm just going to kind of accept it and roll with it. And I know you're super humble just based on knowing you through, and we'll unpack kind of your story a little bit, but also some of the podcasts that I've listened to you on. And I guess that's a huge part of why I wanted you on is yes, absolutely. We can talk a little bit about the wave and your entire winter, but more so going a little bit kind of backwards to the Alo that I got to know through your injury, actually, a year and a half ago, a couple years ago. And so I guess I'll start by saying you're from Santa Cruz, right? And
Born and raised.
Born and raised. And you and I met through an MCL injury, right? That happened, gosh, was it a year ago? Year and a half ago? Something like that. Yeah. I actually I don't remember the exact, like, what happened. Like, I know what the diagnosis was, but tell me a little bit about, if you can go back to that a little bit, just kind of curious what that was all about.
It was your everyday surf session here in Santa Cruz, like doing just what we call a cutback. Yeah. And I remember my knee popping and getting hot, like very warm quickly. And I thought right off the bat, I'm like, did I break it? Because it was so loud. And I remember crawling up the rocks and it felt fine. And then the minute I took a step to take my booties off, because it's so cold here, you always got booties, something just didn't feel right. And I knew right away.
Most of our athletes and patients feel like their leg or the limb is just kind of just hanging on them.
Exactly.
Did you get that sense of like, oh shit, like this thing is like not attached to me anymore? It's like,
it felt a little bit like a rag doll.
Yeah.
But it was, it's funny. Like we surf waves of consequence and everyday type of stuff, but we surf all winter, huge waves. And then it happens on something that's waist high.
Always, right?
Yeah. And it's just the way it goes. But I was almost happy it happened at that time because, you're done with the winter and you just want to surf. And it felt like, okay, now I can work through this and prepare myself better for next year during the winter and have my legs much stronger. And I feel like they are much stronger than they were just a year ago.
You were conditioning still at that time. Or was that, because that's been a big part of your program since you were young, at least based on our conversations. And I think things I've heard, you've been pretty on it, right? With regards to training and just conditioning and knowing that you need to put your body in the best position possible to be able to handle big surf, right? Waves of consequence.
I was doing it a little differently.
Okay.
Like I was doing more CrossFit style, real high intensity stuff. Where
Not super intentional.
Yeah,
would you
exactly.
say? Yeah.
Like now I'm doing much more, for example, weightlifting with my legs and maybe not pushing it to the point where I feel strained and just tight, just feel strong.
Did you feel like that was part of it? Like that injury, you were just like too clamped up and
100%.
tight?
Yeah. Like I had been doing Murphs twice a week, doing all these different styles of, rucking and it was great. I felt in great shape, but I felt stiff.
Was the goal then just, before the injury, was it being able to handle hold downs, being able to handle whatever it is? I know, you've talked a lot about long paddles and crossing the bay and all that stuff. And it was more so about endurance and strength as opposed to mobility.
Exactly.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like that's what.
And like mental too. Yeah. Like you're like, okay, I could do that workout. I'll be fine in this situation.
Right.
But it's not always the case. And I definitely found that out. And I still do those, but a much smaller level, incorporating a bunch of other stuff, just like from mobility to, really singling out one muscle and focusing on that muscle and building it. And my legs were strong, but they aren't as strong as they are now.
Right. It's interesting. We think that as athletes, this isn't speaking for you, training is all about that that heart rate and the sweat and the
Yeah.
grind and the,
Yeah.
you know, I want to be like not able to walk after this workout. And
Exactly.
that's when I know that I did it right, you know? And then you kind of go through what you did, and we talked about that a little bit. You recognize like, man, and, you know, blessed to have had conversations with, you know, high level athletes that have this similar kind of experience that you. It's like, there are so many deficiencies here that I
Yeah.
had no idea
Yeah.
I was living with, right?
Exactly.
Until something like that happens.
And especially with those long workouts, I feel
Yeah.
like you start to lose that concentration on that singular whatever movement that you're doing. So like, for instance, like I would do beach workouts all the time, and we would do, you know, 15, 20 stops. And at each stop, you would do 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, and 10 burpees. By the 15th round, are
Yeah.
you doing that push-up
Yeah.
perfectly?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Right.
And then your shoulder
form
starts to
goes,
hurt.
You're just trying to get
Yeah,
through it. Right?
exactly.
Yeah. And is that that was all self? I know you did guards, right?
I did guards.
Yeah, both my boys are in. I'm embarrassed to say in front of you, the Capitola guards. We used to, yeah, I know. We used to live on the east side in Capitola, and they got started there. And as you know, guards is just so coveted around here that it's so hard to get. And you know where I live. It's like walking distance to Main Beach right there, and Cowell's, and we can't even get into the Santa Cruz guards because we're kind of grandfathers into Capitola, and so yeah.
My dad kind of did those beach workouts and still does them.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, he was a lifeguard for a long time. He did junior guards and everything.
From here?
From here.
Oh, killer. Yeah. I met him on the cliff. It's so he's always so just, you know, gracious. And
Happy.
same with you. Happy, yeah.
Happiest guy I've
your
ever
mom,
met.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Super happy. And your mom is such a delight. It's like one of my favorite things if I see them walking out on West Cliff.
Yeah,
as well, so
but he's an animal.
yeah.
Like my
Still?
dad, still an animal.
Yeah.
Like he'll still text me one day and be like, let's go paddle from, 5 Mile or something like that. And then let's go on a run. Let's go do something. So he's always had that sort of, workout mentality. And growing up doing guards, that's what you do. Like whether you like it or not. And my dad just kept that on the weekend. So
Nice.
every Sunday we would do a beach workout, and that was the motto.
Did you embrace the suck, or were you like, Dad, again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
at first I
remember-
hated it.
Yeah.
I was like, why are we waking up at 8 a.m.
Right.
on a Sunday to go do a workout where I feel like I'm going to puke every single time? Like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Right.
Now I'm like, oh, okay, I feel
Yeah.
a lot better
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
But when you're,
Was it non-negotiable? Like, meaning he was like, "No, dude, Alo, you're coming."
no, it was negotiable.
it
It
was,
was
yeah.
like my ground rule was if there's waves, we surf. And he knew that. He was like, all right, if there's waves, we surf. We always get in the water
Right,
first. But
right,
if
right.
there's no waves and
Yeah.
it's middle of summer,
Right.
let's go do something.
And was it intentional, like for him, obviously,
Yeah.
and how he was able to transfer that to you? Was it intentional to prepare yourself to be able to handle surf, or was it just you're going to be fit regardless if you surf or not, and this is going to be part of who you are? Not that he was pushing that on you, but
Yeah.
was that the mindset around it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was more like, I started doing them when I was 12 or 11 with him, maybe not even doing the workout, just being there. And I tell this all the time to people. I'm like, I did not like the ocean until I
Yeah.
was like 13.
Right.
Like,
I think I've heard you say that.
yeah, I was like, it's cold. Like, why were we going out there? But I think once I turned 13, 14, and then bigger waves and
Mhm.
kind of the whole sport caught my eye.
Yeah.
That's when I started really doing it with them.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay,
I need to prepare
I
myself.
need to prepare myself.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So going back to that injury, obviously I appreciate that background. A lot of times, and I don't ever want to push this on any sort of patients, and a lot of times I let them kind of discover it themselves without kind of planting those little seeds. But it sounds like you found the silver lining in the injury.
I
that
did.
You found the gift, as I
Yeah.
like to say.
Yeah.
And so tell me more about that. I know you talked about mobility and everything. You're looking at your body. You're training differently. I know you rehabbed with, and we'll go into kind of the other optimization things that you did, but you rehabbed with Ryan DeWitt over at DeWitt kind of PT.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more of that experience and how that was.
Yeah. So I wasn't like really concerned with my legs.
Yeah.
I thought I always was like, okay, if I can run, I'm strong. My legs are strong. If I can do a kettlebell swing or, any of that at a high, intensity, it was okay. But from that, I started learning that weightlifting was a huge factor in it. And then I started really realizing how much of a difference my leg size was, especially in surfing. Like my right leg is way bigger than my left just due to the back footed.
leg. Yeah.
And so I started really pushing on that left leg.
Mhm.
You know, I remember sending you videos of
Yeah.
me deadlifting
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that. And it
for
wasn't
sure.
like super heavy, but just
It was new.
getting a groundwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so now it's a ton of that.
Yeah.
Like way more RDLs and all sorts of exercises that, you know, you are sore at the end of the day, but you're not so stiff in your whole body. And you can really singularize this one movement.
And it sounds like you brought some awareness to the biomechanics and how to do it
Exactly.
right? And,
Yeah.
you know, whether or not you were doing it or not, even, you know, like you said, when you're burned out and you lose your form, et cetera, but understanding what good form actually kind of
Yeah.
looks like and how that translates to how you feel afterwards.
Yeah.
So,
And Luca helped me a lot with that
Yeah,
too. He was
yeah.
like, he's like, why were you doing this with that much weight and you're not even doing it right? If you want to do an exercise, do just 5 reps of it, but do it correctly. You'll be a lot more sore than if you do it incorrectly and you're putting pressure on your joints and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, and I would never wish injury or anything upon anyone, obviously. But at such a young age to learn the lessons that you're learning now, which is a big reason why I wanted to bring you on here, is that whether or not you like it, and I know your response to this is probably going to be shy away, but you're such an amazing influence on the next generation. And what I've seen is hopefully kind of a groundswell coming of change and shift in how young surfers look at themselves, right? Whether they're surfing big waves or whether they're kind of ripping whatever, you know, waist or shoulder high waves, is I think that they're recognizing as a collective that they are athletes and they need to start treating themselves like athletes. And you've been on that for such a long time. And I kind of knew that before we even met, just based on the community and talking to people. But the fact that you were actually even out there doing it before your injury, you had some sort of awareness that through your dad, it sounds like, you know, that you had to kind of be physically fit. So that's a big reason why, because, you know, I think having these conversations and talking about this, recognizing that everyone sees that, right? Or sees, you know, everything else, but like, no, this has been a big part of your program, you know, for a lot of time. Yeah. Is optimizing and making sure. And I guess my point is that how cool to have it happens at such a young age and be able to kind of influence that next generation, because they're right behind you. My son is only 14 right now, and all his ground buddies and everything else that are seeing what you're doing. So kudos to you, and thank you for sharing your message in and around, like, you know, recovery and wellness and training and optimizing so that you can handle things like that.
Yeah,
well.
I think it's cool. It's funny because you can go down the wrong path, I feel like, pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew right away from surfing big waves that it just wasn't the path to go. And I kind of looked at people with longevity in it, and I'm like, okay, well, what are they doing? Because, I want to do this for as long as I can, not just a fluke 3 years and then be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I really love it. And so I think that's what motivated me. It wasn't
Longevity.
It was longevity.
Yeah.
Longevity in the sport that I want to do.
Yeah. I love that. And you keep saying it, and I've heard you, like, that's all you want to do, whether the sponsors come or whether, you know, you have to, you know, you're getting a job to support it kind of at the same time, whatever you can do to continue to do this as long as you can. Right. So,
I'm addicted.
Yeah. That's, you know, I love it. A quality of life is our barometer. I always say it's our North Star, right? Like the decisions that we make in and around our day to day, whether it be training, diet, etc., should all surround, like, people come to me all the time, do I need surgery? Do I need this? And it's like, let's talk about what your North Star is. And then we can kind of work backwards from there. Right.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you've done, you know, with training and everything.
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah.
It's funny to say, like, I've been surfing, particularly Mavericks, for almost 10 years now.
Right. 14, right? Is when
14,
you started? Yeah.
Which is crazy
Insane.
to me. Like,
I said that to April the other day, my wife, and
she
was like, "What?" Like, she was looking at our son, and we're like, "I'm not that. I mean, let that guy go to Middle Peak right now." So.
Mom didn't love it.
Yeah, I bet.
Sure.
Yeah,
Mom did not.
She's
love
not
it.
from the surfing background at all.
Not at all.
Right?
She's from the Italian Alps.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we always have this argument with her. I'm like, the Alps are far more dangerous than the ocean.
Yeah.
She's like, no. I'm like, people die in your hometown all the time.
Yes, exactly. So much. I mean, you see it all the time too. My wife comes from a ski family. She's from Lake Tahoe, and not the Alps, but definitely grew up in the mountains. And you see, you know, parts of her community who are continuing to push the levels of skiing. You're right. It's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's different. But they've been super supportive, and it's cool to see. And
it sounds like it.
Yeah. You know, maybe they are supportive in front, but then behind they're like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah. No, I feel like I kind of want to have your parents on the podcast. Like, I'm just like, I as a dad, right, with a 14-year-old, a 9-year-old now, or 10-year-old and 1.5-year-old, is like, whatever they did with you definitely strikes a chord with me, meaning I just super impressed, with how you think about things in and around not only just training, injury, but just as a whole, and hearing you dissect and break down everything that's happened through this winter. Yeah, they did a good job. So kudos to them if they're listening on
I
that
thank
as
them.
well. So after your injury, going back there, and sorry, I know we're bouncing around, but
No,
you reached out to me when I talked about optimization, right?
Yeah.
Because it sounded like you did a little research or talked to people. Hey, like MCL injuries, grade 2, grade 3, are treated much differently, at least in my opinion and in my practice now, than they have ever been, right? When I was coming up through my training and working in residency and working with in fellowship with athletes, like an MCL injury was strict immobilization, meaning lock it out for a little bit, let it kind of heal, and then work through range of motion. And what I saw is that there was a huge plateau after that first like 4, 5, 6 weeks where the patient was kind of locked down for a while. And then you try to push them through the range of motion. Their quad is atrophied, their calf is atrophied. We're forcing them to get that full extension. They lost their flexion. Like it's just, and they're not returning back to sport until 3, 4, 5, 6 months even, afterwards for these, non-operative kind of MCLs. And so I'm like, yeah, there's got to be a better way to do that. And luckily more research kind of came out, and a lot of, put our heads together and be like, oh no, these should be more of an active recovery, get the range of motion, whether passive or active, going right away, and then do whatever we can to optimize the hell out of getting that thing to heal, whether it's blood flow to the area, cells, all that different things like that. So you're early in on that too as well. And the fact that the questions that you had, in our first conversation, I'm like, oh, this guy's on it. Like he already knows kind of what's going on. So
I tried because for me, I had broken my fibula when I was 15, 16. And that's exactly what they did. They just straightened that thing out and said, hey, let it rest. And it took a long time for my leg to heal, and it just felt so weak.
Yeah.
And I was like, I do not want to do that again.
Yeah.
I want to be ready to roll.
Yeah, you don't even recognize your limb. You're like, that's not me.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. And it was, granted, my fibula had been broken for a while, and I kept pushing it and didn't know it was, broken. And
yeah. No, but still, there's ways to work around. Like I like to focus more on what we can do and what we shouldn't do, right? Like you tell me what I can't do, and then let's find all the different things around how we can support this and how we can move forward to make sure that I always like to say, lose as little ground as possible, right? We do have to let it heal, and we do have to do certain things that are going to protect it, but how do we lose as little ground as possible, right? And it sounds like what you did with your knee too. So you ended up doing some peptides, right?
I did the peptides. Yeah. I was, at first, because it was so new to me, I was a little wary. And so I was asking around. I was talking to a bunch of people. I just wanted to figure out exactly what I was doing.
Sure. Yeah, as you should.
Yeah. I was amazed.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy. From obviously your knee will hurt, and I pushed through that. But the healing from it, just doing mobility and stretching and then moving into a little bit of weightlifting. People kept making fun of me. They're like, you didn't do anything, because 3 weeks after my injury, I was already starting to train.
Yeah, absolutely. We get that a lot. I get a lot of people saying, hey, let's look at that MR guy. It's not a grade 2. It's not a grade 3. I'm like, no, we got to change how we manage these things. It's different. Our timelines are different with it.
Completely different. Yeah. And I've noticed it too, with Hammy.
Yeah. Like, absolutely.
I mean, he pushes it maybe a little too hard.
He's another story. I don't mean to put him on blast, and Hammy, if you're listening, but like, I feel like I just ran into Ben Grom the other day. I was like, will you tell Hammy, like everyone, I'm just like, sit that guy down.
Yeah, man. He's like, let's go train jiu-jitsu. I'm like, no, not. You should just hold off.
Thank you. Please watch him for me.
I'm watching. I love the guy.
Trying to watch. I love the guy, but like, he's
like, it feels better the shortboard than longboard. I'm like,
yeah. Maybe we'll talk about his injury at one point, but he hit a bad one. And for him to come back, I agree with you. Like fast, for what he's
really
doing.
Fast.
Yeah.
Like I've known people that have done that, and
they're done.
Yeah. They're still not walking right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
And it's, to me, it doesn't have to be any different than that. I guess is what I'm saying. Like, and it isn't about the technical aspect of what we're doing, kind of excited. There's so many good surgeons out there that are doing it. But what I've recognized is that I used to say, like, my part of it is like 25%. I'm now like, my part of it is like 5% of the time, right? It's like, how do we optimize? How do we get this thing to heal in ways that the patient can kind of support themselves? And you saw it, man. Like, and I thought, obviously I was following from afar. I never want to bother my athletes and just be this pest, like, how you doing? That sort of thing. But I was getting definitely feedback from Ryan and everything else like that. And you were moving through it like quick, like fast. Really quick.
I remember even, working with Ryan. It was like a week.
Yeah.
And I went back in and he was like, your knee is completely different than last week.
Yeah.
Like
so quick. Yeah.
25, 30% stronger.
Yeah. Where does your head go with injury? Meaning like is it like,
Ooh.
like I know that one specifically, you had the fibula kind of, et cetera, and everyone handles, and I'll give you some time to think about that, but like everyone handles it different. I have athletes that injury, all right, let's get MRI, let's look, let's figure out what's going on. Let's start the optimization. I have some that just kind of freeze a little bit, right? And they just don't want to know. They don't want the MRI. They don't want anything. They're just like, I'm not hurt. I'm fine. You know, that sort of thing. And I'm just curious where your head goes.
Depends on the season and when
Okay.
it is. Because I feel like if there is a moment, like for instance, if I had torn my MCL a week before this, I would not have gotten an MRI. I would have said, I'm fine. I'm throwing a knee brace on.
Sure.
Let's try it out. Being that I tore my MCL in the summer or springtime.
Yeah. You had a window.
I had a window and I knew right away. I was like, let's fix this as fast as possible.
Love it. Yeah.
And you know, you can, as an athlete, you're so stubborn. Like you're like, okay, I need to just push through this. I'll be fine. I can work through other things. But then there is a point where you're just going to cause more harm to yourself. And it's the balance.
Yeah.
It's the balance. It's the timing. It's the place.
Right.
It's, you know, it's kind of everything.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, if you're on a surf trip and you do it on the first day of the trip, like my fibula.
Yeah.
And I just kept surfing on it for a week straight, and then came home, surfed on it for another week straight, then found out it was broken. That was a different scenario, but I didn't want to do that all over again. I wanted to really make sure that everything in my body was going to be, like we talked about, longevity. Okay, this is broken. We need to fix this. What's the best way of fixing it? And what's the fastest way of doing it?
Right. Love that. Yeah. And part of that is getting the information, right?
Exactly.
As fast as I can.
And trying to gather all these things because, you know, you can say all you want that you know about, you know, a piece of your body as myself, but you really don't. And so I just tried to gather everything that I could from everybody that I knew and then kind of cornered it into a spot that I liked. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go with that.
Yeah. That's epic. I love that. And that's honestly why I'm drawn to not just the surf community, but individual action sports athletes in general, right? Like I do, you know, I enjoy, obviously I have a baseball background, so I love taking care of as I can speak that language and really understand my throwers and overhead athletes, volleyball, football, kind of, et cetera. But there's a difference in our, especially in surfers, but in our action sports athletes, there's the level of independence and reliance on their own intuition and community that we don't necessarily see as much in the team sports athletes. And the reason is because, and it's not their fault, it's just that they're kind of, best way I can put it, they're kind of coddled through the entire process. They have their athletic trainers, they have their PTs. Usually there's a team doc. Usually there's a team chiro. Like there's so many people involved in injury and recovery that they aren't really kind of tasked to have to think for themselves and go to their community and ask, hey, how did you manage this or this or then? Yes, there's a lot of information out there now, and we're getting and driving more deeper esoteric conversation around injury with our athletes, but definitely don't have the same questions with the team sports athletes that we do with you. And what you just described is exactly why I'm drawn to it, because your intuition and looking into the community and trying to figure out all the different things that are available to you to optimize or enhance kind of your recovery.
And a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that, does it hinder somebody being individual without so much guidance, or does it actually help them? Or does it help? It depends on the individual, right?
Great question. And that's why I asked you where your head goes, because, and you probably know some of them, there's some athletes that avoid, right? And that's, it's a coping mechanism, right? It's a mechanism by which that's probably worked for them a long time. And most of the time, just kind of time and ignoring works out for them. But I've definitely been in plenty of situations where if I had gotten to something a little bit quicker, I'd be able to enhance and improve way better than we did kind of when we finally got to it. So, I think it depends on, I think if you're like you, and if you're in tune with it, and if you're using kind of that North Star and the big picture as your goal, then absolutely it is something that I think is self-serving. I think that's beneficial versus the opposite. Most of the time in the surf community, it's actually a good thing, right? It's a good thing. Yeah, absolutely. And again, not to knock the team sports athletes, but their hand is held through the entire process, you know? And so I'm actually a lot of times, if I have them in my office and we're talking about injury and recovery, I'm kind of trying to get them to ignore everything else around them, and I try to connect to them. And a lot of times my question is, well, what do you feel? What do you think? Right? Like, let's not look over here. Your trainer, yeah, he's awesome. He's amazing. He's gonna get you back. But let's talk about what you're feeling right now, right? And what you think the best course is for you. And a lot of it is based on, as far as treatments, what you just said is beautiful in the sense of like, it depends on when and what those therapeutic windows look like and how you manage it and how you think about it. Cause it's so important. And for us to ignore it would be us putting blinders on it, meaning the way that we treat someone leading up to something like this versus at the end of the season into the spring and the summer is very different how we manage it. Like if you'd come to me with an MCL injury in November, and we've done it before with athletes in November, December, I would have been like, no, like, let's just go, you know what I mean? Go, here's a brace, like whatever. Like we don't need to cloud and confuse you with any grade 1, grade 2. Is it this? Oh, there's that thing on my meniscus. Is that real? You know, all this stuff. Like, it's just like, no, like, let's just go. Let's get through. How does it feel? You know, that sort of thing. And then we'll look into it later. Like we'll figure out, we'll figure out what it's going later. As long as, like you said, it's not going to cause any long-term issues. And that's important. And that's my responsibility, right? Is to make sure that there's no issues with that. But I love what you said, because that's exactly how I manage patients too. It really depends, and athletes, it depends on where they are in their therapeutic window, right? It's so important. So.
And we're stubborn for sure as surfers.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, like you talk about, and I always talk about it with other people.
Yeah.
Is we don't know when game day is.
Yeah, that's right.
We never know when game day is.
That's so true.
Like, it's not
you got to be ready all the time.
Okay, World Series or the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
We know a week out. Hopefully you're feeling up to it.
Right. So the physical side, you got nailed down, right? Like part of that is staying just, it's a lifestyle thing. It's not like, you're probably ramping up towards the winter, knowing that, the arena in your backyard pretty much is a world-class way. Right. But, and you're probably taking some, time, and probably in the future, we're going to start traveling in the summer and doing that sort of thing. But, it has to be a lifestyle, the training, right? So that you're ready all the time. Not to put you on the spot, but tell me more about the mental side of that too, because that can be exhausting, right?
It's exhausting,
especially this last winter. Like you have any practices in and around? I know you just built congratulations on the new place, but you also are building a sauna in the place. I know that's part physical, but it can be mental. Psychological, emotional, etc. Like, what are your goals moving forward? Like, what's the perfect situation at your place setting up to make sure that you're optimized mentally and emotionally, and any routines that you have?
Yeah. I mean, last summer I struggled with it, I think the most I ever have, just with that fall of, a bunch of people talk about it. It's like a big wave depression.
You
just have this adrenaline rush for 3 months straight, and then everything falls off and you kind of start to just feel numb. So you have to have something to keep going. And if there's just nothing going on, you'll lose it. So that's why I enjoyed construction. It's not only for me, it feels like a long day of just a workout, but then you have to think all the time. And you have, depending on your boss, a little bit of a drill sergeant.
Yeah. Russell.
Yeah. No, Russ is great. Russ is great. Russ has been like super helpful
that's awesome.
with that too, because he's experienced it.
Right.
So he knows. He's like, what's going on today? You look a little cloudy. But the mental thing is like, how can I prepare myself for the next year? Because the summers feel like a year, and you want to be able to be ready by October. And sometimes, I always say, like, the month of July feels like it's 6 months. And we'll see. I haven't had that quite yet from this last winter. I think we're still riding a little high on there, but it'll happen again, but I'll be much more prepared this time. Last year for sure was a little bit of a down. Like you don't. And for me, I was like, why do I feel like this? I'm so like almost getting angry, because you're like, what? Everything's great. What's going on? So, and a lot of that is just being physically fit. I think that physically being able to move your body is the number one thing. And if I didn't exercise that day, I felt horrible.
Right.
Like, just
you double down in the summer. Yeah.
Double down. So training starts now.
Yeah. Love it. Do you lean into any sort of mentors with that? Is that something that's pretty common in the big wave community, or just in the surfing community through the summer?
I kind of, I'm starting to get more mentors on it.
Yeah.
I had an ego about it
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
where it's like, no, you got to be tough.
Yeah.
Just head down.
Kind of like denied it.
Yeah, you're like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'll be ready. I kept saying, I'm like, I'll be fine in October. And Russ actually helped me a lot with it.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I had it all the time.
Yeah.
This is the process, and you're gonna feel numb and just kind of down and
depleted a little
yeah,
bit.
depleted. Like you exert so much energy on one thing, and then on top of that, you have adrenaline. That's all you're focused on for 3-4 months, and it's nonstop, and you just want to do it over and over and over again, and then all of a sudden it just disappears.
Right. Heavy.
Yeah. It's like that to me was like the hardest thing.
Right.
I've never experienced something like that, and I hate to say it, but it sucked.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it.
yeah.
This is the first time this last winter.
Yeah.
Because the winter before, even though it was a weird winter, but you still were able to kind of get out there and get some. as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this winter for sure was like a spike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm
For
sure
sure.
we're going down the roller coaster now.
Yeah.
but
I mean,
we'll
with
figure it out.
armed with experience,
exactly.
like you said,
Yeah.
and the willingness to let the guard down and to be able to tap into the people that, who you look up to, right? And who've been there before with anything, but especially this sounds like super powerful for you.
It
as
is.
Well.
I've learned a lot through the years to just start asking questions.
Yeah.
Because if I don't ask questions,
Same.
then I don't know the answers.
Yeah. And being okay saying I don't know,
Exactly.
right? And being okay saying like I don't feel right. There's something wrong here. Like, any thoughts on that, or have you ever felt that, or what's this all about? Sort of thing.
Yeah, and I feel like too, it's tough to talk to certain people about it because there's a lot of macho and kind of grit to it.
Right.
But there are those few that will talk to you about it. And I really actually admire those people because they give you these not only answers, but just explanations.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, yeah, I've gone through that. I know what that feels like. So don't worry. Like, it'll be all okay. Just keep doing what you're doing. And that, it gives you a little bit of sense of relief.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. And goes back to the longevity component of it, right? Like if this is something that I'm going to continue to do every single winter, right?
Then,
like I can't keep getting into this, right?
No.
I can't, right? And I need to figure this out, right? So,
and there's always other things to do.
Yeah.
That's what I think I've learned is like, as long as I'm in the ocean, I'm happy.
Yeah.
If it's 1 foot, no waves,
Yeah.
or 20 foot, it's the number one healer for me.
I saw that firsthand in your first wave back at Cowell. I don't know if you remember that, but I don't know. I just go out and mess around with rivers sometimes. It was a year ago, and I think I was getting down there, and Ben Grom's like, "Yeah, Alo's out." Everyone was like, "Alo's out, Alo's out." And you were on a longboard or you know some big board, and you were smiling. Yeah.
Cowell's is still one of my favorites. It's like everybody laughs. They're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like,
yeah,
this is my favorite wave.
Yeah, it is. It's a special place for sure, especially that sand comes in. But yeah, I really appreciate you being vulnerable enough to talk about that, because that's something that I've had conversations behind closed doors with many athletes, many of which you know, and probably are mentors to you, who did go through that macho phase of not admitting it, right? And then they let it pile up, like mud on the tires, and pile up and pile up and pile up and pile up. And they were seeking exactly what you just described, what they were looking for through things that probably weren't serving them, right? And that's how things kind of compound for them until they recognize, like, and just identified it, right? Just put a finger on it and said, this is what it is. And it takes someone, like you said, who has experience to be able to pull that out and be like, oh yeah, that does make sense, right?
Yeah.
But to recognize it again, I think the theme of the conversation, I guess, is at such a young age, right? To be, to be so aware is pretty powerful.
And I feel like too, I'm lucky because, our generation is a lot different than the ones that we had prior. Like you were saying, I think a lot of these people had this issue, and they used other substances to,
sure, absolutely,
drive it deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
I never saw it like that.
Yeah.
I was like, why do that if you get this adrenaline rush and you get to do it all winter?
Yeah.
Let's just fix the problem in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Do you have plans to travel? And I know, work and you got a new house. Congratulations. That's going to probably keep you very busy, through this summer. But is that something that's on, like, what does Alo's vision board look like over the course of the next couple of years?
I haven't been able to travel a whole lot until this year.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty cool. Like, going to Maui and experiencing that, and then kind of jumping around. And I mean, my main goal would be to go to Fiji.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like the top of the top for me. And
Yeah.
we'll see if that happens.
Yeah. Strike down there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Strike down there.
Yeah.
Hey, Russ, I
Yeah.
need a week off.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So good. That's a
but
special place for sure.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
And that's what I just really want to, even if
Yeah.
it's not what we expect for waves,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to go.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it just seems like such a beautiful
Just get
spot.
your feet wet out there and, you
Yeah.
know, get a sense of what it looks like, what it feels like out there. as
Even
well.
even
Yeah.
at Jaws,
Yeah.
for me, that was like the same thing.
I heard you
was-
talk about that, the positioning and
Yeah.
just, it was all new and just being out there and
If I flew over there and didn't catch a wave, I would have been fine. I would have been like, okay, I got to experience it. I got to see it. And that's that. And I think in big wave surfing, we kind of have this like almost like self pressure to catch a wave and be the guy and do that and get that particular wave. I don't really feel that. Like even out at Mavericks, it's like, yeah, if I miss the wave of the day, wasn't my wave. It's okay. And at Jaws, I kind of took that into play where I was like, you know, I caught 2 waves my first day and I took advantage of the opportunity because there was nobody out. And then the second day I caught 1 wave and broke my board, and then everyone was like, why are you going back out? I'm like, caught my wave. That's it. Like I'm happy and I want to watch it.
and that's born on what you just said. That's born out of the genuine love and want to do it for the reasons that you want to do it, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
to grab the clip, right?
Exactly.
Or grab the shot,
Self-promote,
Because then,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
because then it becomes that pressure is there, and
Yeah.
not to take away, because absolutely getting into the professional ranks, like you have to in order
Yeah.
to continue to put, you know, especially if you have family and everything else like
Yeah.
that, and can really put, you know, put on the
Push.
table and push, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. But it gives you a lot more peace being out there, knowing that, you know, like you said, go out there, I don't get away, it's fine, but like I'm just here to learn and
Exactly.
and serve. Yeah.
And in a place like Maui,
Yeah.
I was shocked that I could wait 4 or 5 hours for a wave
Yeah.
and not get cold.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. Every time you go somewhere tropical, it gets harder and harder to get out.
Get
here.
out.
You get
Yeah.
out here and put a suit on
Yeah.
and get in the water out here.
It's
So,
I talked
you feel so
about
light
that
and free.
with
so,
with Luca after. I was like,
excited. Yeah.
I waited for 3 hours and caught 1 wave and I felt completely fine. If
Yeah.
we did that out at Mavericks, I would have
Yeah.
been a block of ice
Oh.
and I would want to go in.
Yeah. Oh my God. I spent a little time in the North Shore this last winter and with Ocean,
Yeah.
Froggy and Adam was surfing out there, staying at the Quicksilver House and kind of cutting his teeth over at Pipe. And
Yeah.
he came in and I got the clip from Ocean. I saw him and he was just absolutely amped and just psyched and
Yeah.
on his wave, which he did get some epic waves out there. And he's like, yeah, I sat for 4.5 hours for that one
Yeah.
wave. And he's just
Yeah.
like, so I don't care. I would have sat for 8 hours. I would have sat for 10 hours. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can do it.
You
Like,
can do
just
it.
do it. Yeah. Very different than out here.
It's
So,
a good family too.
Yeah.
Great
Oh,
family.
dude. Yeah.
Adam's starting to surf Mavericks too, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah. Are you taking him under the wing a little bit? How's
A
that?
little bit.
Yeah, I'm curious how that works. Being an outsider, obviously, to just surfing in general and coming into it through, you know, my work and also, you know, my
Yeah.
kids. Yeah, I've heard you talk about your mentors and people bringing you out there. I think 14 was the first.
Yeah,
that
14.
time out there. Is it you express interest and say and find the guys that mentor you, or how does that? I know it's probably
Yeah.
not like stepwise, but just curious how that. Knowing that Adam's trying to get out there more, and a
Yeah.
couple of the younger guys like Jack and a little, you know,
Yeah.
are starting to show themselves out at Mavericks. Like, how's that evolution?
I try to help them as much as I can.
Yeah.
I don't think I can say I'm a mentor yet.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not old enough to be
Sure.
like,
Yeah,
hey, like this is where
yeah.
you
But
go.
you could show them the ropes.
Yeah.
As far as how you got to.
No,
you
for
know,
sure.
there. Yeah.
And you know, whatever they need,
Yeah.
I'll try to accommodate them and,
Mhm.
and show them where to sit and
Mhm,
everything.
mhm.
But these kids are pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Adam is
Yeah.
when he paddles out, he knows where to go and
Yeah.
he knows where to sit. And I mean, for somebody like Adam, his dad is his number one mentor. I
right,
mean,
right.
Osh surfed big waves for
Yeah.
a long time. So
Yeah.
then sometimes
One
you
of the
don't want to
pioneers
be
out there.
like,
Yeah.
hey, do this.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
Right.
well, Osh is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
legend.
Exactly. Jet, we'll be all hanging out with Jet and
Yeah.
Ryder and Adam, and Jet will ask me something about surfing, and Osha's sitting right there. I'm just like,
right there. is
you're
your-
asking me.
the dictionary
Yeah.
is right there.
Dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll tell you how to take care of your knee, but I'm
No,
like,
no, I mean, it's tricky, right? Like, I had Pat Shaughnessy who took me
Yeah,
under his wing,
sure.
and he's awesome at doing that.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And I think Osh did it the right way with Adam,
Mhm,
where
mhm.
it was a slow progression.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of people nowadays that want to jump to the
I
top.
see that. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
let's breathe a
Mhm,
second.
mhm.
Just like, even for me, like
Yeah.
I started at 14. I didn't really start sitting in the bowl until I was probably 17,
Mhm,
18.
mhm.
And then towing was way later.
Yeah.
Um, and so I want to accommodate the people that I see that are doing that for the longevity. And
Right.
Adam, I think, is one of them.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
really
right.
do think
Yeah.
so.
They're not trying to accelerate. They're not trying
No.
to hit the fast forward button. They're actually
Exactly.
spending their time and they're
Yeah.
going out there. Yeah.
Just experience it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just live in it, understand it, and then I know one day you're gonna get the
Mhm.
wave you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you expressed pretty early on, like, this is something that I want. And yeah, you were seeking
Yeah.
at that time.
I mean, from the Power Lines videos I watched when I was
right,
so
right,
young,
right.
like
So good. And to have so many mentors, I mean, we could say so many names,
So
right?
many,
Even just
yeah.
walk out this door and, down the street, you can find all of them out
I
there,
mean,
right?
Zach Wormout would come
Yeah.
over for dinner.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
just like,
Yeah. It's so killer.
he's a friend, but I'm still starstruck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And what an incredible training ground. I feel like from ankle high all the way up to there, like along the kind of the northern down to the central coast, like to be able to find the waves that slowly get you to that place. I mean, Middle Peak, obviously,
Middle
on a good
Peak
day.
is-
Yeah,
yeah,
just to kind
it's
of build
great.
you up to be able to graduate, I guess, and get to that place. It's kind of a special place for that too. And I hear
Yeah.
that more and more with more of the conversations I have in and around the local surfing scene.
it's a ladder.
Yeah.
Like you literally start from Cowell's,
Mhm.
you move up to the lane.
I'm still at Cal.
No.
Yeah.
You start at Cowell's,
Yeah.
you move to the lane, you
Yeah.
go to Middle Peak, and then you just keep moving north
Yeah.
until you hit Mavericks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's-
Nuts.
You can't ask for a better situation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's and it's kind of I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the towing scene is also starting to surge a little bit, or at least has over the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
not to say that it's kind of taking away the paddle, but it seems like it's gaining momentum again
Yeah.
as well. And it kind of there's this yo-yo back and forth, the pendulum kind of swung
Yeah.
back and forth, and starting to see that a lot more.
We'll see how
as
long
well.
it lasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how long it lasts. I
Yeah.
think, and I have to say it, I'm a part of that.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Good.
and I think it's a necessary tool when it's need to be, but there are a lot of situations now where we don't want this to become a tow spot. And I've traveled to places around the world now where I'm like, oh, these are strictly tow surfing spots now.
Yeah.
And it's selfish, right? You're like, you want to keep it core. And I wasn't even able to tow until I towed with Ryan Augustine. And he's, a longtime Maverick surfer. So it was a privilege to do it. And now it's starting to become almost like a feeling of everyone's going to do it.
Sure.
And once that
circus,
it starts to get to a circus,
Mhm.
and then it starts to get shut down again. So obviously on days like that, you have to. There's no other way of doing it. I mean, you may have paddled a wave that day, but those cleanup sets were 500 yards outside of us where we were sitting on the skis.
Right.
So, and Luca's really pushing the limits with
Yeah,
that. It's
yeah.
fun driving him.
Yeah.
It's fun and, nerve wracking
Right,
for sure.
right.
Because he wants to do some crazy stuff. But
And what a good opportunity to get so much more wave time too, right? To be able
Way
to
more.
learn
yeah.
and gosh, especially rep after rep after rep. Okay, I need to be a little deeper here. Okay,
Yeah.
I faded
Yeah.
this one too much. I did this, to have that immediate feedback, and then okay, back on the horse, do it again, try
Yeah.
it differently.
Yeah.
And that's
You learn the bowl
yeah,
really quickly,
yeah,
I think.
absolutely, yeah,
And your lineups, they're completely different lineups. Normally you sit in this one spot. Mavericks is a really, really tight peak. This is the bowl. This is where you want to be. And you know which waves are going to be good. Toe surfing, you're, a couple hundred yards outside.
Yep.
You have no idea what these waves are going to do. So you start
Right.
to read what a swell line and everything looks like.
yeah. You look at it completely different,
Completely
so,
different.
Yeah.
It's a different sport, and it's a team sport, which is cool. I actually enjoy that because I like driving. Like when you drive and you get to, put your guy in the right spot and he gets an incredible wave, you feel just as a part of it.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Since you brought it up, tell me a little bit more about the trust that needs to be present with. I mean, I've had a handful of other patients that have tow partners and work with
Yeah.
other people, and they talked a little bit about that. It just maybe Lucas specifically, but just your guys' kind of evolution as a kind of a partnership
Yeah.
in the tow world, and And I know that he's from Half Moon Bay, right? Like
Yep.
lives just right on the street from Mavericks.
You can see the bull from
you can
his
see the
room.
bull from his room. Yeah. I'm just curious how you guys connected, and because you guys are an epic duo for sure, and just love what you guys did all winter. So,
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It's funny because when we were younger, we weren't, we were acquaintances, but we weren't friends. And I always looked at him. I'm like, this guy's got a beard. He's like 12. I'm like, what is going on?
Right.
And I'm sure he saw me as a dumpling little ginger kid who was like, he's like, who's this
O'Malley.
kid from Santa Cruz? Yeah. Like, and we both started surfing Mavericks around the same time. And he was towing with Tim West, who's from Half Moon Bay as well.
Yeah.
And I was towing with Ryan Augustine. And we started kind of getting the idea. We were like, okay, why don't we just do this together? I mean, we're both young. We both want the same things. And getting, I always talk about it. And I talked to a bunch of the older guys in the water. They were like, breaking up with your other tow partner is like getting a divorce.
Yeah.
It's
I can see
tough.
that. Yeah.
You're just like,
absolutely.
hey, I'm going to go with this guy.
Right.
Sorry. I hope you find a new tow partner. And Ryan's taught me a ton, and so.
And it makes sense generationally too.
Yeah. You're younger.
Right.
You want to be respectful, but then at the same time, you got to push through it and try. And Luca and I started to become just good friends out of the water too. Like I trust him a ton out of the water, and that goes straight into the water. I think that's the number one thing. If you have a tow partner that you don't trust out of the water, you're never going to trust them in the water. And we grew to become pretty close friends now. And it kind of just grew from there. It was like after the first session that we started towing, it was like, all right, how can we do this better? We have flaws. I have a ton of them. And let's
learn together. Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Like there's a lot of those tow teams that are the older guy and the younger generation. We're both the same age. And so it's kind of fun. And as Pete Mel says sometimes, Luca's the Rhodesian Ridgeback. And so
he is the Rhodesian Ridgeback.
He's
so good. Yeah.
Once we get in a roll and we have that same energy, it's pretty entertaining to watch because we just don't stop. Like we literally go till we burn out. And it's been fun. I mean, we've been waiting for a day like that since we were kids, and to be able to do it with him is pretty special.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And to share the same level of priorities as well or out of the water too. It seems like, I don't know him obviously as well, but he's obviously on the same, down there at Laird and kind of on the same program, as you, and you guys have been kind of seemingly kind of on that path together.
Yeah. So. And it's fun. I mean, he's a little bit younger than me and I look up to him. So it's pretty cool. Like whatever he's got going on, I learn from them, and, he learns from Laird. So it's kind of like a little bit of a system there. And he has helped me a ton with a lot of stuff, in and out of the water. He'd just be like, hey, I have a question about this. I go to Luca. I ask him about it, and we talk about it, and we go through it. And so that's the trust that we have. And not only do we get to surf big waves together, but then we get to hang out and be good friends, which is awesome.
Yeah. And it's the social media side of things is it's tough, right? Because it's a fake world. It's a weird world.
It really is.
But at the same time, you have the opportunity, and I know you don't quite look at yourself quite as a mentor yet, but I guess I would say I do, in the sense of I have young kids and I know some of the younger community who do look at you that way, to be able to kind of show what's happening kind of behind the scenes, right? A little bit with regards to not only your training, but your relationship with them and all the things that kind of go into it, the preparation and everything else like that. And so as much as it is a kind of look at me show, I feel like you both, just as an outsider's perspective, have done such an awesome job of being able to share that relationship and kind of your training and everything through social media in a very organic, natural, authentic way. And so, that's my perspective on it. So,
and it's easy, right? Because when you are good friends, it's just like, it's natural.
Yeah.
There's no like trying to fake it, fake smiles.
Yeah.
Exactly. No red carpet.
Right. Yeah. No, and it obviously the results are speaking for themselves. Right? And it's part of it. It has to be, at least in my opinion. Like it just, it's all part of it. And I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on the wave.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a lot, but I'm actually more just curious as to, and maybe you don't know have the answer to this, is when do you find out, or what's the deal with all of that? And I'm sure you're probably sick of hearing that question, but and you could be brief, but like, yeah, what's the next step, or you just, yeah, not that it matters to you. I know it doesn't. But,
Yeah. I've been trying to keep it out
yeah,
of what my thought process
Sure,
is completely.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, for me, I keep, like you're saying, they keep asking me that question, and I don't really know the answer because I haven't been indulged in it at all. And I think there's other people doing it, and they can deal with it.
sure,
For
Yeah.
me, that day was so special.
yeah. Nothing's gonna take away from that.
Nothing's
day.
gonna
Yeah,
take away
yeah,
from that
yeah,
day, and especially the whole day.
Yeah,
Like, it was.
magical. Yeah,
I've never seen anything like it.
yeah.
I just got chills thinking about it.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've heard you talk about it. I think I got chills talking about it. Just
Yeah.
the laps that you guys were doing, and how it slowly built, right? And
Yeah.
and that one wave that kind of came through way out the back, and you're like, oh, here we go. It's on.
it was walls of water to the point where I've never seen them. It was pretty special. And, being able to stay up there
Mhm,
too. I
mhm.
mean, I've talked about this. I mean, the next day we were back out there and there was nobody out. It was just Luke and I on skis. And we towed for a little bit, and it wasn't pretty. It was ugly and not good, but we just love it that much where it was like, all right, wake up next morning, let's go again.
Fun.
Nobody was there.
Yeah. That's
So-
so authentic. That's so raw. And to be able to, I mean, getting back to your preparation, getting back to all the things that you've now turned into who you are as far as your lifestyle, right? Not
Yeah.
just a specific, I'm doing this for that, but this is who I am now. To recognize like all of that preparation puts you in a position to be able to handle a
Yeah.
day like that, right?
Yeah.
And felt like you kind of weren't, out over your skis, or,
Yeah. I mean, it was funny, right? Because we were adapting constantly that
Mhm,
day.
mhm.
It was like, hey, we don't know what this wave's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have an idea.
Right.
Nobody really knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a trial run on every wave, but we gave it our best shot. And I mean, I got to thank Luca 100%.
Oh, yeah, you
like
guys are a team.
99%.
Yeah.
For every single wave you catch,
Yeah.
you will not catch that wave without your
Right.
tow partner.
Right. Absolutely.
And
Yeah. As you said, it's a different sport. It's
It's a
team
different sport.
Yeah.
completely
absolutely.
different sport.
Sweet. So what's next, man? What's no?
I don't know.
I know we're
It's
getting through the
the-
summer, and like
yeah.
you said, traveling a little bit. Cloud breaks on the list, and
Cloud breaks on the list for sure.
What about Nazare? Is that?
We went there.
Oh, you did. I
Yeah.
missed that. I know you went to Ireland.
Ireland. We went
I missed
Ireland,
the
Italy,
Nazare, sorry.
Portugal.
Yeah. Okay.
It was fun.
How was that experience? Was it-
It was different.
Yeah.
I mean, my love for Mavericks is still at the top,
I mean, yeah.
and I really enjoyed it. It's cool learning something new. It's just like, okay, I get to go completely different arena. You start from fresh, and I enjoyed that process of it. I think for me, it was a little bit of too much going on for my taste. I'd rather be out in the middle of the ocean catching
Yeah,
waves
yeah,
by myself.
yeah.
But incredible wave.
Mhm.
Like, I can't knock it at all.
Yeah.
It'll beat you, and it's big, and it's raw, and
Yeah.
it's scary.
I've heard some of my big wave patients like that's suicide. Like,
Yeah.
there's someone that will
Yeah.
like I don't know. I've
Yeah.
done that, been there. No, I don't
Yeah.
want to do it anymore. And
I
then some
mean-
just as you know, like, I think, McNamara obviously loves it out
Yeah.
there, but a couple others, yeah, just they love that wave so much.
They
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
And
Barnes, that's what Mason.
Mason,
yeah,
yeah,
loves
they
that.
love that
Yeah,
wave.
yeah,
Mason
yeah.
loves that
He
wave.
loves it.
He loves it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I can see the lure.
Yeah.
I'm just so attached to one thing, and I'm so focused on one thing that it's hard to take, a little bit of that away.
And you mean
And-
Mavericks? You mean-
Mavericks,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think once you're dead set on one thing, for me,
Mhm.
it's hard to
Mhm.
kind of take the horse blinders off.
Sure. Yeah.
But there are certain spots that did take those horse blinders off, like
Mhm.
Jaws and Ireland.
Right.
Like, those were places that I want to revisit.
Yeah. Your footage from there was sick.
It was so
so
fun.
good. It looked like an
Yeah.
epic trip.
Ireland was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd been to Iceland and surfed,
Mhm,
so I
mhm.
know kind of that area, but I'd
Mhm.
never been to Ireland.
Yeah.
And Ireland was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, it fit my my skin tone too.
Yeah.
Like sun went up
Perfect.
at
Yeah,
10.
you belong.
And
You belong.
I
Yeah.
belonged.
Yeah.
Everybody was like,
Yeah.
I had a
It's
couple
local.
Irish people. They were like, where are you from? And
Yeah.
they're like, where in Ireland are you from? I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm from California.
Yeah. Froggy talks about it a lot, like the different spots. I think Adam went out there when he was really young. I think it's been a while since he's been out there, but yeah, he was talking about all the spots out there too.
It's
So,
incredible.
Yeah.
It's really pretty and nicest people ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, killer. Any questions for me, man? I don't know. I got me here. Like,
Yeah.
Or I got you. Which is
Yeah.
great.
I'm always curious, like
Yeah.
in your field, if you do have an injury that is, substantial, what would be the best way of handling it as soon as it happens? So, for instance, like we had Hammy's injury
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
knee,
yeah.
and that's just an example.
Mhm.
But what's a protocol? Because I'm always interested in that now. Like,
Yeah.
what's the protocol as soon as what we can do
Yeah.
as a lifesaver or a jet ski operator to
Yeah.
grab this person, hold them, make sure they're not doing anything that
Yeah.
will re-injure the injury.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to think.
No, that's
Yeah.
good. Great question. You know,
Yeah.
obviously there's the first responder aspect of it, especially if it's like a head or neck or,
Yeah.
spine sort of injury, is making sure get them on a hardboard and stabilize that best you can, least amount of movement, you can possible,
Yeah.
and just stabilize them, right? That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing, get them out of the water. So whatever you can do to get them out of the water and then stabilize them. If it comes to extremities, for sure. Like I know a lot, I've had some surfers that actually with whether it's shoulder dislocations, ankle and that sort of thing will kind of crank on it and pull on
Yeah.
it. I always say, don't even bother. Don't even
Yeah.
try. Yes, sometimes you can kind of get it back, but a lot of times you can actually re-injure or not re-injure, but injure other structures by trying to kind of pull and do that because the muscles will tense in certain places. And there's a very kind of specific technique with certain types of reductions where you actually have to accentuate the injury and then kind of bring it around, kind of et cetera. And so I've had some, especially I go out and help them volunteer out on Tavro Island and kind of the injuries
Yeah.
out there that we see because it's so remote. Is that there's this urge to kind of realign, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? The
Yeah.
limb or the body and that sort of thing. And yeah, sometimes the bone's poking out and,
Yeah.
you just kind of pull on it. But what I always say is fight that urge to try to kind of pull and realign it. Most
Okay.
of the time it will end up causing more issues than it will trying to reduce it. Someone like Hammy, I hope he doesn't mind talking about it, but
Yeah.
something like that is, I'm not sure the nuances. I can't remember one of, gosh, yeah, I think it was, someone from Hawaii reached out and kind of told me, but I was just wrap it up, right? Wrap it up and best you can just to prevent it from moving, right? That's like for the knee or something like that, prevent it from moving. Obviously if there's any sort of substantial bleeding, you know how to tourniquet, things and kind of get that going, but limbs and shoulders and things like that, the biggest thing is just don't move it.
Don't move it.
Yeah, don't move
Okay.
it, especially someone like Hammy with that much instability, poor guy, like, the more that thing kind of moves around, the more it stresses and pulls on other, like whatever remaining ligaments.
Yeah.
It's almost like the threads are gone and whatever
Yeah.
remaining is left. If that thing's moving, there's a high chance that you can kind of strain and pull and tear through a meniscus or something like that. The more it's and it seems simple, but it's such an important thing because I don't see it done enough in those types of circumstances. Is just kind of immobilization is probably the best thing that you can do with that.
That's why I was curious because like an example for a knee injury.
Yeah.
When you get on a sled of a jet ski,
Yeah.
your legs are hanging off.
Yeah.
And so that was my first thing was a thought, and I wanted to ask you about it because I was like,
yeah. Oh, you mean when he's on the rescue?
on the rescue sled,
Yeah.
and his legs dangling.
Yeah. So
how do you prevent that?
So
from
getting him out of
re-injuring?
obviously getting him out of
Danger,
danger,
yeah.
like get him out of the soup, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
number one. But then once he's up, get him up onto the sled and sitting back with the leg on it, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Because the flapping around, as he even described being underwater, kind of the more it kind of bounces around, and you're gonna do what you have to do to get him off, right? You're not, you have a few seconds, right? to
a few
get him.
seconds, yeah.
And so what you do is get him on the sled and get him out is perfect, right? But then
Yeah.
once you get out of danger, immediate danger, then get him onto the rescue sled with just the leg kind of flat on that, and that's fine. But yeah, no, you got to do what you do to do, save his life first, and and then we'll take care of the limb.
I'm always
the limb
curious though,
later.
like there's that gap, right?
Yeah.
Like you get the guy out of the danger zone, that we call, and the harbor is still 5 minutes out. If you have an injury like that, I think it'd probably be 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Depends on the situation for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to do compressions on a guy, it'd
Yeah.
probably
Very
take
different.
very different.
Yeah.
But that's like my main kind of concern now is how can I save somebody that I know
Right.
and help them as much as I can.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a life-threatening thing.
Yeah.
To just get them to a specialist like yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Without re-injuring anything.
what I always say in some of the North Shore guys and Hawaii guys is like, get them to land and then call me.
Yeah,
Like depending on where you are, Morocco or whatever.
Yeah.
And then obviously I don't be calling, but call someone, right? But just yes, EMS and that sort of thing. But there are certain decisions that are made in that short period of time that can kind of change the course. Alter things. Yeah, absolutely.
I always laugh. I'm like, we kind of have this persona of being like, okay, we have safety and this and that. And I'm like, we're still pretty much water cowboys.
Yeah.
Like we're just grabbing people, throwing them on a sled and being like, all right, we're going to head to the harbor.
Yeah. I mean, but it at the same time is through obviously the veterans and the people that came before you, right?
Yeah.
There was a way that things were kind of done and it worked out great.
Yeah.
And for the most part, even without formal training, a lot of the big wave community and big surfers are very good at it, right? Very good at not just life saving, but just triaging things, right? Again, you just learn from experience as well. And a lot of them go through, and I'm not sure if you ever did any of the EMS or the paramedic, type stuff. And a lot of times they'll do that as well. I know a lot of the Maui crew does that. And I know I've heard you give thanks to the rescue teams and everyone that are out there, the people that are just out there volunteering their own time, picking people off the reef and that sort of thing. But
they've came and got me plenty of times.
But it's through experience and what I typically say is get them on the sled, get them to land, and then we can triage kind of from there. That's the most important thing. As well. So
it's always it's a tricky one, right? Like for me with the Ham situation, we weren't sure if he had broken his femur.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So that was like my main concern. I'm like, okay, if his femur is broken, we need to get him in. We need to get him to EMS as fast as possible. And luckily for us, like Mavericks is so close to the harbor and they normally station an ambulance there, which is huge. Just for transport, because there is no hospital in Half Moon Bay. So they gotta deliver you over the hill. And it's a pretty funny story, actually, but the EMS asked Hammy what his scale of pain was from 1 to 10, and Hammy decided to say 0.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear this part.
He was on the stretcher,
my God.
and he knew because he's an EMT.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't want to get in an ambulance. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And they were like, what's your scale level of pain from 1 to 10?
Yeah.
He just, out of his teeth, just goes 0.
Yeah.
And we all started dying laughing. I was like, I couldn't keep it. But Hammy's a super, super tough guy.
Yeah,
I don't know if in that situation for me, I would have been like, get me to that ambulance and get me over the hill.
Right. So what ended up happening? I think I saw a picture. He got an X-ray, or no, he went to the ER or urgent care. I can't remember what.
I think he went to urgent care, got an X-ray.
Yeah.
He knew nothing was broken.
If kind of like what you're saying, if there's any concern that there's like a femur or tibia fracture, that sort of thing, like the bare minimum for sure, get an X-ray. But if it's like very much like, oh dude, it's like right in here, it's not urgent, have to go right. We do want to get imaging, obviously, kind of at some point. But that's what I mean. It's like, okay, well, let's FaceTime. Let's see. Not that you should rely on me or someone like me like all the time to be there. But if there's concern, there's femur, the limb is kind of, it's like, just get the X-ray and it's a pain in the ass and you got to drive, all the stuff. But like at the end of the day, peace of mind and just, ruling out worst case scenario is super valid and reasonable.
I wanted to make sure for sure. Yeah. That was like the top. I knew right away because he's a really tough kid.
Yeah. Oh man, he's been through a lot in the last couple of years.
A lot.
Too.
Like he injured his heel in jiu-jitsu and it was a bad situation.
Yeah.
And he was walking around on it just like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So when I went to go try and grab him and I could see that his eyes looked like basketballs, I was like, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's really wrong.
That was so heavy. I mean, just hearing him, and I'll let him recount it at some point, but just what was happening underwater and just spinning under there with his leash attached and just not released.
That's the nightmare right there.
Yeah.
It's definitely a bad situation, but it was a learning lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like you said, you hate to have somebody get injured, but we learned from it.
Yeah. And it was so, not that you would ever done anything different. It's in your makeup, but to see you there for him during his procedure, right? And be able to take care of him. And it just, I always say it's so much more comforting for me doing those types of procedures and taking care of people when I know that they have the support system behind, because I feel like, just like we talked about earlier with the optimization, it all goes into it, right? Having that community, having that support, knowing that you're not on an island on your own suffering, that sort of thing. That having your brothers with you is so powerful. So I guess I should take this time to thank you for being there. No, I have to, because it changes the outcome, whether or not he's out surfing too early or not. And you did your job, I did mine, and
Damn.
yeah, exactly. But no, I know you're gonna react to that, but I really do think it's a special thing, right? For you, and I know you have a great community, but also are giving back in all the right ways too. So yeah, I was stoked to see you there and help him out through that journey too as well.
It was a tough. Hammy wants to do everything by himself, but I was like, this one, I'm helping you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And mom, we gotta thank my mom.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, mom was
definitely.
there. Yeah, it's so nice, and for him to be away from home, right, and being kind of yes, this is kind of his second home, but to be away from that and his family, like to have your mom and you involved in that, it changes everything, especially in those dark days, as you saw. And I talk about them as the trenches, and you can have them in the setting of injury, you can have them post surgery, but and I know the patient was talking about it towards ACLs, and he's like, there's all this excitement in and around the injury, meaning people are there calling, how you doing, that sort of thing. And then whatever procedure, whether you peptides or PRP or whatever, surgery, there's all the excitement with that. And then all of a sudden you're alone, like you're in isolation, you're having to deal with thinking about the timelines and am I ever going to be able to trust my knee or shoulder or ankle or whatever in waves of consequences or situations where I never even had to think about it before, right? And that's when things can kind of spiral for a lot of our patients and athletes. And so I don't say it lightly. I think it's so important to, one, for me to continue to be involved and have those conversations and allow, kind of similar to the way you described your summers, is to allow them to have those feelings and say that's very valid, right? That I'm validating you. That's normal, right?
Yeah.
Right. And the best way that I can coach, yes, you be in the community and et cetera, but the best way I can coach patients and athletes through that is education, right? Just being as transparent, as thorough as I can, to be able to let them know what's happening inside them so that they can visualize it and they can put their mind to work on getting things to heal, but at the same time, respect the process, all right, this is happening right now, and this is why I have to do this, or I can't do this. And then this happens, and then this happens, and this happens. And that then puts their mind or targets them towards something maybe a little bit less depressing, you know what I mean? And more so, okay, actually, I do have control of that. And that's, I think, the biggest thing with a lot of athletes, as you know, is that potential loss of control, right? Because you've been able to control everything up until then, right? And then you feel like you don't have control. And my mindset is you do have control. Yeah, we do the procedure, but after that, you're in full control of this outcome, right? And that's why
the long game.
That's why I'm giving him such a hard time. Like, dude, don't mess this up. You got to control. So
he's I mean, I've been lucky enough to not have an injury that's been that long.
Yeah.
And I'll adapt.
Yeah.
When it happens, everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
I think, and especially in an active lifestyle.
Yeah. I think you're well equipped, man. Like I think you.
Hopefully.
I think that back to the silver lining, right? The gift that you had. Obviously, you're already doing it, but the gift that you were able to, one, recognize, right, and then receive, was that level of awareness. And I think that's so important. And I wish that upon not injury, but if I can get people to kind of recognize that super early on, it makes all the difference in the world. So,
it really does.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed to have people like you too, where it's
thanks, man.
No, seriously, because if you don't have somebody that you can, not in a sense, corner down all this information to, then it starts to become a tree that's scattered and you don't know where to pinpoint and you don't know where to be like, okay, where can I get the best help? Where can I talk to somebody and trust them and understand and get a breakdown? Like, that's what I appreciated with me and you was, hey, this is your knee. This is what's going on. You gave me a step by step of every process of it. And here's a little game plan and you can alter it or whatever you want, but this is what I would recommend. And I really respect that rather than, hey, don't push it. Do this.
Yeah,
sit down. Don't move. This is the procedure. Like, we got to push it a little bit. And that's why I like that.
Yeah.
And so thank you.
No worries. You're welcome. I love it. And I always, kind of, it's cliche, but I always say, like, in your corner for a reason, right? Meaning, you look at any sort of fighter, boxer, whatever, like, it's not just one person in there, right? There's so many people, and whoever you need in that corner, you bring them in, right? And if it's just information for me, that's why I say it doesn't have to be like, I can play whatever role in that corner that you want me to, whether it's just translating, whether it's, and I say to all patients, like, I don't need to be involved more than you want me to. It's like, okay, put the pieces together that you need to be here, right? okay, and to know that things are going to be okay, and that you're confident moving forward. And you've done that, right? Like through the people that the community that you reached out to, the questions that you asked, reaching out to me, and then obviously Ryan and everyone else that kind of has been in that corner. And now,
and Ryan for sure.
Yeah,
Ryan's been a huge help.
Yeah,
and I want to stay in contact as much as possible with him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, no,
I've been,
yeah, no. Those of us who take care of athletes recognize one thing, and that is no news is good news. So like, I'll never hassle you, never any of my athletes, to see how they're doing. Obviously it's super fun to watch things from afar and obviously see you smiling out there and ripping. And I think that's what's the best part about, well, getting back to you, is that like you're doing that, but then I'm watching on Westcliff and you're, out there ripping with the Groms. And I told Jet we were going to be chatting. He's like, oh, he just boosted this air and almost landed on me. We tell him not to land on me next time.
That last night?
Yeah. And I was like, that's the question? It's like, why'd you almost land on me? And I'm just like, yeah.
I apologize. Sorry. I didn't see you.
No, it's so cool to have him, to be able to, I know you don't see yourself as a mentor, but just to be out there with you. And I really do admire the young life that you're building, man. You're a young legend, and you're shaping the future for the next generation kind of coming up. And I'm saying that. I know you're gonna receive that, but it's super impressive, man. That's why I wanted to have you on. And yeah, this is great, but I just wanted to kind of unpack how you looked at injury, how you looked at wellness, how you looked at conditioning and optimization, and just how the mind works in and around the sport that you love. So I appreciate you taking the time and sitting down with me and kind of hashing it out and being vulnerable with all of it. So
thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to say one thing is I'm still learning.
Yeah.
And I will continue to learn.
Love it.
Which I love.
Yeah.
Like, it's not next month I'll have a different idea.
Yeah.
And I go with that for a couple months, and then I see and I can tweak it and keep going. And so
good. Yeah.
Some people always ask me, they're like, what's your training? What's this? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to try this.
Right.
And then I'm going to see if it works.
Good.
And if it doesn't work, then we go back to the whiteboard.
Right. Be curious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, parallel journeys, man. Always learning, always open, always receptive.
Yeah.
So, well, best of luck this summer. And
thank you.
Yeah, we'll be following from afar and stoked to see you on the cliff.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.